Let's draw a pie. We're going to start with very simple shapes, like we always do. Start with a kind of a long, skinny triangle. And right from the edges, we're going to draw a line going down right here, and then wrap it around the bottom and point up to meet the top part of the triangle. Then we're going to add the little crust on the bottom and the thicker crust on the top. And I'm not a big fan of whipped cream. The only time I like whipped cream is on a loaded mashed potato or on some pumpkin pie. So we're going to add a little bit there, and then our big plate. And I messed this up a little bit over here, so I'm going to erase that and fix it. Then I'm going to add another little layer to the plate right here, and some more on the other side and on the bottom. That's going to kind of make it look a little bit more 3D or give it depth. Then go ahead and erase your lines that kind of overlap and cross in front of each other. Then I'm going to draw these kind of swervy lines or curvy lines, almost like S's on the inside. That's just going to be kind of the little texture from the whipped cream bottle. I'll put one more over here. And we're going to erase a little bit where on the side to make it curve over on the side. When I use markers, I always want to use alcohol markers. They're going to color much smoother, and you can actually blend them a little bit. And try to use little small circles like I'm doing here. It's going to make it look smoother and just put your marker down a little bit more even. I'm going to go over the top of our little slice of pumpkin pie in a lighter orange, and on the bottom, and then up top here, I'm going to go even a little bit lighter. Then I'm going to use a really light kind of yellowish gray, very light, to add a little bit of shadow to that whipped cream there, just on the little curvy spots, and then a little shadow on the bottom side and up towards the crust. I'm going to just dab over the darker spot a little bit, and it's going to be very subtle, but that'll kind of create a little bit of texture. And when it dries, you're barely going to be able to see it. I'm still not very happy with the plate, so I'm just going to make a couple little corrections here and on the inside and the outside to make that shape a little bit better. Now I'm going to go over it with that very light gray on the edge here, and then again on the bottom. I want the bottom will eventually be much darker and on the right-hand side. Now watch this. I'm going to add a little reflection from the little piece of pie. And when you're using markers, the quicker you draw your little stroke, you put a lot of pressure when you first start and then kind of whip it down really quick. That's how you start to blend. And you'll have to do this a few times to make some layers, but you can see how it kind of blends out to lighter and lighter. Now I'm going to add one more little ring around my plate to give it a little bit, a little bit more detail and texture. Then I'll add the shadow on the bottom, again using that little whip to start a lot of pressure when you first start and get lighter and lighter. And then now I'm just going to blend with that same pen or that same marker, and just going over it again, it's going to make it just a little bit darker. And see these little lines, when this dries, that's going to be very, very subtle. It's the same color, I'm just adding more to the drawing to make it a little bit darker. At this point, I'm kind of just adding some darker shadows here and there on my little pie and a little bit more texture. I'm going to add a little bit more underneath our little whipped cream. That'll make the white part of it stand out much more, make it look brighter. Those contrasting colors really make a big difference. I'm going to make a couple more little dots here on the edge to add a little bit of texture. And here's the really fun part. This is a yellow Prismacolor pencil. I like to use colored pencils on top of my markers. It works really well and makes adding those little highlights like we're doing right here on the edge makes it a lot easier. Start soft at first so you can get used to it, and then you can put a little bit more pressure here and there, and try not to get too carried away. But if you do use a lot of colored pencil, you could go back over it to smooth it all out with a really light alcohol marker, and that'll blend it all together. Right now I'm just adding some highlights where the light is hitting it right on the edge there. That's where it's catching the most light, right on that corner. And also these little guys will add some more texture and make it so it doesn't look so smooth. I'm going to add some more shading over here with my colored pencil, and now add some more little darker kind of little pockets or grooves in our pumpkin pie. And I'm going to use some darker colors. No, I'm not going to use black in this at all. Most of it is going to be just a dark or brown. I try to steer clear of black as much as I can, unless it's super, super dark. I'm just going to outline my plate a little bit more and blend it all together down here on the bottom to make the bottom stand out and make that shadow stand out a little bit more. Now that marker's dried, you can see those little texture lines on the edge of the plate. You could barely see, it's very subtle. They're still there, but it's a little too subtle. So I'm going to go back and darken them just a little bit with my brown and darken a shadow underneath the bottom of the plate. Now I'm ready for some pie. If you want to learn some tips and tricks to draw the easy way, make sure to give me a follow. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.